I don't know what I'm talking about. Everyone else knows so much more than I do. It takes me so much longer to achieve the same result. I can pretend I'm on their level, but sooner or later they'll realize I just don't have the background. Do any of these thoughts sound familiar? Then this video is for you. Hey there, welcome to Science is You. Whether you're a student in college or grad school, or you're just interested in learning more about science, my goal is for you to feel confident and empowered navigating the world of scientific research. But there might be something standing in your way, preventing you from enjoying science. Imposter syndrome. As a molecular biology PhD survivor, this is something I've struggled with a lot over the years. In this video, I'm going to share 5 strategies for overcoming imposter syndrome. But first, to overcome something, we have to define it. Psychologists Dr. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes first coined the term imposter phenomenon to describe unjustified feelings of inferiority in a professional setting. People experiencing this might disregard their own accomplishments or even think they don't deserve to succeed. Imposter phenomenon is more commonly known as imposter syndrome, although it's not technically a formal syndrome in the sense of a medical illness. Imposter syndrome can be described in several different ways, but basically refers to unjustified feelings of professional inadequacy, which might mean you also experience low self-esteem and high self-doubt. You might believe you can't accomplish your goals or don't deserve what you have already accomplished. These emotions can lead to feeling you're not as smart or skilled as your colleagues, even if others might perceive you as successful. In this way, people who are fully capable and have achieved success often feel like frauds. This type of self-doubt affects both people who are brand new to a field and long-standing high achievers alike. Imposter syndrome can affect people in all stages of their career. For example, if you just started out, you might feel that you just don't have what it takes or don't have the background to succeed. But alternatively, you might feel that you're just not good enough at something you've been working on for years. Feeling like you don't deserve your job or don't belong in certain situations because you're inferior for some reason are hallmarks of imposter syndrome. But before we get into our 5 strategies, let's talk about why you might experience imposter syndrome. Who's at risk? There are many diverse reasons, which could include a prior bad experience with a teacher or supervisor, previously being told by someone that you're not smart or talented enough, feeling like you don't really fit in or belong with your colleagues or peers, having been bullied or teased in the past about a disability, individual characteristic, or personal struggle, lack of confidence due to a poor performance at school or work either recently or in the past, not achieving something yet that you've been working on for some time, and striving for perfection and caring deeply about your work. And also, imposter syndrome isn't just a clear-cut situation of either you have it or you don't. The imposter phenomenon and all related emotions are along a continuum, but no matter how much or how little you feel like an imposter, it's important to try to find ways to overcome it so you can move forward with your goals. Strategy number 1. Remember and write down your past accomplishments. Often, when we're working towards self-improvement, we tend to focus solely on our past mistakes and failures and how to prevent them in the future. This is great, but it can also lead to compiling a mental list of perceived evidence why we don't measure up. But the evidence is only one-sided. The counter-evidence is all of our accomplishments. But why are we often inclined to focus just on our shortcomings and not our successes? So for me, this looks like the following. Negative emotions and experiences just seem much more impactful than the positive ones, even if the number of successes far outweigh the failings. Logically to me, it makes sense in the context of the fight or flight survival response. when faced with a conflict or important decision. For example, events like touching a hot oven or being chased by a tiger or almost drowning cause highly impactful moments of pain or fear that help us to remember those actions were a risk to our life or health. Although activities that are pleasant, like sitting by a campfire or petting a kitten or swimming at the pool, are positive moments, if we had not done those activities, it wouldn't necessarily have threatened our existence. So it's natural and possibly even critical to our survival to preferentially remember negative, life-threatening experiences in much greater detail. But this isn't always beneficial in the professional world. For example, although failing a test, being reprimanded by a supervisor, or missing a deadline are not necessarily circumstances that pose a threat to our lives, we may perceive them as such, especially if we greatly care about and value our education, career, etc. So these negative experiences can become emblazoned in our memories more so than the hundreds of tests we aced. Many times we were praised by supervisors and countless deadlines we met. But how can we counteract this imbalance? Create a journal of your accomplishments. Start by writing down all of the past major accomplishments that come to mind. Make a list just first of the top 10. Here's some ideas for inspiration. Graduating high school, earning a higher degree, getting your first job, being awarded a scholarship, starting a family, learning a new skill, overcoming a health challenge, starting your own business, raising children, moving out on your own, buying a house, acing a course, completing a certification, giving a talk or speech, living in a foreign country, learning another language, defining a key personal value, defending your thesis, making a hard but correct decision, and many more possibilities. Also, I'd like to mention what constitutes an accomplishment might be different between people. For example, giving a presentation in front of a crowd of 50 people might not be a huge deal for some, but if you have a phobia of public speaking, this would be an amazing accomplishment. So, after you finish making this list of your top 10 lifetime accomplishments up until now, start a new page and think back over just the last month. What accomplishments come to mind? After you've listed these, start a daily journal of accomplishments. Every time you experience a success, even if it seems small, write it down. Then when you feel that you are a failure who doesn't measure up, pull out your journal and confront those thoughts with some successful truths. Strategy number 2. Redefine failure. In order to make this journal, we have to first be able to define successes and failures. For example, if you failed a test or even an entire course in college, you might add another point to the mental failure category of your professional life. But going on to pass the entire course and graduate is actually a huge accomplishment. Failing that one test didn't even matter in the long run. Often it's easy to start thinking that we're unsuccessful in our career when we haven't even defined failure yet. It's easy to think of failure as this overarching lack of adequacy or a personal reflection of oneself and abilities. But what criteria really set success apart from failure? Those criteria are defined by us. For example, imagine you're trying to run a marathon, but you only make it the first 2 miles and can't run anymore. This might seem like a colossal failure. But what if our goal initially was only to run 2 miles? That changes the situation. That would have made the failure a resounding success. So we should just lower our goals and expectations of ourselves to do what we can now and not push ourselves any further. Of course not. This is because there are reasons that we set those goals. For example, in the case of the marathon run, you might have wanted to increase your distance running, improve your overall health, or many other reasons. But rather than just looking at our lack of goal completion as a success versus a failure, it's more valuable to see the situation in its whole. Why did we set those goals, and why could we not complete them? The important thing is to gain information from the failure. More important than categorizing our performance as a success or failure is to determine why we didn't reach the intended goals. Let's think about the situation in reverse. Suppose the marathon run had been a simple success. What would we have learned? How would we have furthered ourselves? Perhaps what we would gain is the information that we should set our goal higher? On the other hand, from the failure, we might determine a lot of things. Frequency of training, better hydration, working on specific muscle training, etc. So in terms of information gained and goal setting, it's actually easier to move forward from a failure than from a success. Is there then such a thing as failure? Yes. When we allow ourselves to make a judgment on our intellect or self-worth, or choose an entirely other career path based on a project not going as planned or how our supervisor perhaps wanted, or on any one event or perceived shortcoming. Failure is when we give up based on fear of failure, or allow imposter syndrome to overtake our self-concept. Keeping these points in mind, write down all of your failures that come to mind, and for each one, think of a positive point, thing you learned, or something you did well in the situation. Try to put yourself in an outside perspective. What would you tell a friend or peer who was upset over a mistake or goal they missed? Strategy number 3. Zoom out and list your skills. Does it sometimes seem like no matter how hard you work, you're not making any progress? Sometimes it might feel as though you take a few steps forward only to be catapulted back again. When we're focused in on daily progressions, it's often hard to see how far we've come because we're looking at our lives on a minute-by-minute basis. Setbacks are like noise on a graph. It might look like we're just going up and then back down again and spinning our wheels. This is because we're so zoomed in on the daily details. But if we zoom out and take a look back over time, the overall trend over the years is usually a huge increase. But what about all those people that can do things just so much faster than me? It seems like with minimal effort, others just soar past me, whereas it takes me so much longer to achieve far less. I felt this way many times in graduate school. An important lie we tell ourselves sometimes is that no matter how much we work, we will never achieve the same standards as our peers. But this isn't true. This is imposter syndrome talking. Indeed, it may be true that for a period of time, we don't seem to be excelling at some specific things as well as some of our colleagues, but growth does not necessarily need to be linear. Skill acquisition can be an exponential process. What this means is that even though we might not be excelling as fast as we would like for some time, it doesn't mean we will always stay where we are at. It may take more work at the beginning, however, breakthroughs in understanding and acquiring new skills can come when we least expect them. In addition, desired end destinations can change, and the path to our ideal career can take many different turns. Often what seems like a dead end or an obstacle we just can't overcome is actually a fork in the road. The journey is about navigation. Even a dead end can be an opportunity to back away and pursue a different track. Furthermore, it's not any one specific skill that defines your success or failure in your chosen career. Rather, it's the combination of all the different sets of skills and all of the unique things in your life experience that enable you to accomplish your unique goals. So, in addition to working on new skills, it's essential that we recognize and value skills and experiences that we already have too. So, make a list of all of your skills. Try to write down at least 10. If you need help, ask a trusted friend, family member, peer, or colleague what strengths they see in you. Strategy number 4. Stop comparing yourself to others. Since the discovery that DNA sequences make up our genetic material, it's become recognized that many additional factors contribute to making us unique individuals. These include environmental factors, lifestyle, and likely many more variables to be discovered. In academia, we're constantly prompted to compare ourselves to other people in terms of grades, performance, experimental results, or speed accomplishing tasks. However, every individual has a unique set of challenges and skills, all of which equip us to fulfill our purpose in life. Seeking growth is positive, and some healthy competition isn't always bad, but constantly comparing ourselves to others in terms of our professional capabilities and career successes leaves us wide open to imposter syndrome. So why are we competing? The path to success is a unique and often unpredictable experience. Trying to compare yourself to another person in your field is like trying to compare two athletes from the same city, but one is climbing a mountain and the other is running a double marathon. So, of course, there'll be advice and insights that one can give the other, and they can both benefit from each other's knowledge. However, it doesn't really make sense to directly compare the performance of these two athletes and ask which one is better, because these are two completely different journeys. In the same way, there are so many variables, unique life experiences, and individual characteristics that make you unique and define your path that it's virtually impossible to accurately compare two people, and there's no need. Instead, focus on doing things that you enjoy and that challenge you. Rather than comparing yourself and questioning whether you have all the qualities of a successful person in your profession, focus your energy on how you can achieve the unique goals that you are led to pursue. Of course, grading and comparisons from the outside world do exist, but these don't define your potential for success or your worth as an individual. Judgments from the external world need not become internal truths that distract us from our goals. So, stay focused on the road ahead by writing down your unique goals. Start by writing 5 goals that you absolutely wish to accomplish during your lifetime. Now write down any thoughts and external judgments that you feel are standing in the way of achieving your goals. For each negative statement that poses a potential barrier to your goal, evaluate its validity. If there's any truth to it, write down the way in which you'll overcome it. If there's no truth to it, just cross it off and commit to not internalizing it. Strategy number 5. Don't try to see yourself through the eyes of other people. So just as comparing yourself to others can lead to untruths, so can trying to determine what other people think of you. True story. In grad school, I heard a rumor that someone in my class didn't think I had sufficient background to succeed and get my degree. This added to my growing sense of inadequacy, and I was convinced that my intellect and knowledge was well beneath that of my classmates, despite passing all of my coursework. I assumed that it was just common unspoken knowledge that I was that one person who had mistakenly been admitted to the grad program and would probably not make it through. Confirming this assumption was my observation that some fellow students were not that friendly to me, which I figured was because I was so far beneath them intellectually. Long story short, I was shocked to learn in later years that some of my peers had actually been jealous because they saw me as a highly accomplished individual. Further, I realized many of my peers had faced emotions of inadequacy much like I had experienced. So it's inaccurate and just plain counterproductive to try to predict what someone thinks of you. Everyone possesses a set of unique life experiences and holds an individual perspective, so we just can't always know exactly what someone thinks unless they tell us. And sometimes people will tell us what they think. Constructive feedback and criticism can help us improve and to grow, but not all critiques are constructive. This is a topic that I feel greatly impacts the sciences and professional world and can lead many to question if we have what it takes to pursue our chosen career. Clearly, feedback with this outcome is not constructive and not helpful. But communication involves more than just a single message. There's always a sender, a receiver, and a translation of the sent message. A profound realization for me was that not all senders have our best interests at heart. In addition, even well-intended advice can sometimes be demotivating and lead us to question the path we've chosen. The solution is to stay firm on your goals. If you know inside yourself that your path is right for you, then only accept advice that helps you along your path. Valuing constructive criticism and different perspectives can be healthy. But when feelings of self-worth become dependent on judgments from other people, we become easy targets for ill-intended commentary and imposter syndrome. So our strategy is to press that mental delete button. We as message receivers have the choice whether to receive a critique or not. If the message causes you to feel depressed, demotivated, or reconsider your career goals in a negative way, then it is not a message that is worthy of your attention. Set a mental spam filter. Decide beforehand what types of communications you want to let in. If it's critique spam, just press your mental delete button. Of course, we may have to respond to critiques from teachers or supervisors, but highly critical messages that cause you to question your self-worth reflect negatively on the person giving the harmful critiques, not on you. In conclusion, if you find yourself experiencing feelings of self-doubt or you feel like an imposter in your profession, remember that you're not alone. These feelings are common and have real causes, but the message is untrue. The first step to achieving your goals is believing you're capable enough. I hope you found these 5 strategies helpful. If you did, please hit the subscribe button for more. And remember,